All right, so we have an update for you on Mr. AJ Terrell. Raheem Morris, head coach of the Dirty Birds, said he is now week to week with a hamstring injury, most likely meaning he will not play against the Carolina Panthers in week 3. Welcome in, Dirty Birds fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, your 2025 season host. So let's just dive straight in, shall we? He did not practice today, at the time of this recording, which is Wednesday. He did not practice for the Atlanta Falcons. In fact, I don't even think he dressed for practice. I think he was in his street clothes, just kind of hanging out at the Dirty Birds practice. But remember, he injured his hamstring against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. I believe it was in the third quarter. Don't quote me on that. But he did miss the rest of the game. He did not return, meaning to me at least, it was a little bit more severe than we originally thought, because a player of his caliber and a player with his competitive advantage, he would have gotten back in if he could. And the fact that he didn't come back in proved to me he wasn't ready. And usually, if you miss practice, and again, I say usually, this isn't a good sign that you're going to play the next week. I think this is the week, though, that you could end up missing this game. Because if you look at the next 3 opponents, the easiest, and it's not even close, is the Carolina Panthers. Because next week, week 4, you've got the Washington Commanders. Granted, we don't know the status right now of Jaden Daniels, but then you've got the gauntlet in week 5 against one of the NFL's best, the Buffalo Bills. So I'd sit him regardless of if he's ready to play or not against the Panthers. Even if he came to Raheem Morris, even if he went to Jeff Ulbrich on Friday or Saturday morning and said, hey, by the way, I'm still feeling like I can get out there and give you at least 80%. I'd still say, sorry, I don't think we necessarily need him, considering we have plenty of replacements that in a pinch can absolutely get the job done. I won't even say excel. I'll just say they can step in and do their jobs. Who are those players? Dee Alford, Natrone Brooks, Clark Phillips, CJ Henderson, and Mike Ford. Now, let's just start with Dee Alford, who's most likely, going to be the one that gets the nod. He didn't play awful against the Minnesota Vikings. I'll give him credit where credit is due. He actually stepped in and played decently. Natrone Brooks, I feel like, is not quite there. Clark Phillips, probably the player that has the most experience to be ready to play and give you a good game, although this year has not really stepped on the field because of his injury, so he's going to be working back into playing shape. And then you have Mike Ford and CJ Henderson. And the guy that I want to highlight specifically is CJ Henderson. And there's a couple of reasons why I think you can call him up from the practice squad, activate him, and he can actually do a really good job against this Carolina Panthers defense. What are those positive reasons? Well, how about this? He played for the Panthers. So this is a revenge game for CJ Henderson. How about a former first-round pick, meaning we know he's got talent. The reason that he's been bouncing around from practice squad to practice squad has been his injury history, not because he has this awful style of play. He knows how to play the cornerback position, and he was pretty decent in the preseason. He had a 62.1 PFF grade. So it was clear that when he was on the field, those quarterbacks, granted, 3rd, 4th, or 5th string quarterbacks, they weren't really targeting him. Now, he only did play in 24 snaps, so there's not a huge sample size. But his PFF grade, like I said, was 61.2. His coverage grade, which is what you want to see being better, was a 71.7. Now, his run grade was a 40.7. So you're going to tell me that a cornerback who has been a practice squad player isn't going to do much in the run game? Shocker. I don't need him to. Just get out there, cover your man, and get us a W heading into week 4 so that AJ Terrell can climb right back into his spot. So I'm going to ask you very quickly, who would you play in place of AJ Terrell? If you're watching this during our live show, shout out to you. Let me know right now in the live comment section. But if you're watching this during our regularly scheduled programming or recording, make sure you put it down in the comment section down below. Now, coming up, I've got Raheem Morris's press conference sound-off sound bites, some direct quotes about some players, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, that he believes definitely deserved some praise. Spoiler alert, what he had to say about quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Now, before I get into that, let me tell you about today's presenting sponsor, my friends over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Very, very simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. It is the best way, by the way, to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Producer Alford is that first one on the photo section. If you want to show them, there it is. Beautiful. I took Matt Olson on the more for professional baseball. And here's the cool thing. You can combo different professional sports, baseball and football. I went James Cook on the more for receiving touchdowns or rushing touchdowns. Michael Penix Jr. to throw for more than 216.5 passing yards. And then, of course, my max discount play, Patrick Mahomes, more than half a passing yard. Yours can look just like this if you're a glutton like me and like the more, or it could be less as well. All you have to do is download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Here's something that I want to start off the press conference portion of this show with. This was awesome. This made my blood get really, really warm and kind of want to run through a brick wall. Raheem Morris, who granted has his faults, said this to open up his press conference. You're not supposed to like the Panthers, and we don't. If that doesn't make you just feel like there's a win coming on Sunday, I don't know what will. So let's talk about the quotes. We'll start, of course, with the quarterback. Here's what he had to say about Michael Penix Jr. He said, quote, I think Mike is growing and developing as our quarterback. He'll do what he has to win. And I want to highlight that and pause right there for just a second. Why? Because he's absolutely right. Spot on analysis about QB1. And what is that spot on analysis? To me, it's this. He absolutely is doing the right thing in terms of his play style. He's not doing too much. If you look at his stats, these aren't eye-popping, but they're not supposed to be. Yes, you played a secondary for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that has been known to get carved up a time or two. I thought he was excellent in that game statistically. He also went down the field, got the Falcons in a position to win the game, and then, of course, Younghoe Koo misses a field goal, and boom, you're 0-1. And then last game against the Minnesota Vikings, he gets blitzed like crazy by Brian Flores. Clearly, it's a spot that he's not used to being in, and he's just trying to get through the game. Well, he makes clutch throws on third down, and he doesn't turn the ball over. Meaning what? Michael Penix Jr. is putting the Atlanta Falcons in positions to win football games, which is something that a lot of other young quarterbacks, specifically in his draft class, are not doing. Caleb Williams? Yeah, laughable. J.J. McCarthy? Holy cow, I don't even know if he's an NFL quarterback. Michael Penix Jr. doesn't need to go out and throw for 335 yards, 3 touchdowns, and have a QBR of 144. He just needs to not turn the ball over and excel when he needs to excel. And that could mean, in the case of the Vikings game, just don't turn the ball over. Let your defense handle it. Let the run game handle it. Now let's move on to the run game. Speaking of, let's talk about Bijan, or as he correctly quoted and corrected the Sunday Night Football crew, he would like to be called Bijan again. So let's just say Bijan. He's definitely the best player in football in my mind. That was Raheem Morris on Bijan Robinson. And I love that from my head coach. Maybe he's being a little hyperbolic. Maybe he's, glazing a little bit. But we'll talk about what Yahoo Sports echoed about the Minnesota Vikings game specifically. Success was found primarily on the outside zone plays, where Robinson was able to decipher which lane to take and maneuver around defenders. His Week 2 success on the ground was a stark contrast to his Week 1 performance, in which he just received 12 carries. And that is, of course, because Zach Robinson kind of shit the bed Week 1 in terms of his play calling. But if you look at the statistics so far in 2025, the dude is an absolute stud. He's almost got 300 total yards from scrimmage. Now, he will find the end zone more. I promise you that. And going back to what Raheem Morris said about being the best player in football, look, it's such a hard question to answer because there are so many good players at different positions. Is Bijan one of the best running backs in the NFL? Absolutely. Absolutely. Top 2, in my opinion. The only one you could maybe argue is Saquon Barkley. I think he's even better than Christian McCaffrey. He's on the field more. So let me know. Is Bijan the best running back in the NFL? I'm going to stake my claim and say no, but I'm going to say he's number 2. I think Saquon Barkley is Saquon. Bijan. That's my bad. That's funny. Producer Alper's making fun of me over there. Like I said, I'll take Bijan at number 2 as the second best running back in the NFL. All right, let's end the episode by having Raheem Morris talk a little bit about the defensive performance. He said it was cool, but at the same time, I've been watching it all preseason. But for the world, it was great, especially in a prime time game. So what he's basically telling you, specifically about the rookies actually, was that he gets to watch these rookies ball out every single day at practice. On Sunday, you really saw this 2025 draft class show out, highlighted by their individual performances. Walker had his first sack. I don't care what the actual statistics say. James Pearce Jr. definitely had a sack. I don't know why they didn't give him that. Maybe it's because he didn't make the initial contact, but he was the one that wrapped up the quarterback. He's what wrapped up J.J. McCarthy and brought him down to the ground. Billy Bowman Jr. and Xavier Watts, who we'll talk about later in this live show, both also had unbelievable performances. All that to say this is what I meant to say. All 4 of these guys, all 4 of these dudes look like slam dunks. Early to tell, only 2 weeks, I get it. I don't want to be on the Glaze train. No diddy. But these all look like they can play. The only one that hasn't so far, and it's because he hasn't stepped foot on the field outside of the preseason, is Jack Nelson. TBD. So who's been the most impressive rookie so far? Jalen Walker, James Pearce Jr., Billy Bowman, or Xavier Watts? If I had to put my answer right now, it's got to be Bowman. So I'll type my double Bs. But you let me know in the comment section down below or in our live chat. That'll do it for us on this episode of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and a reminder to all Falcons fans to rise up and be cool.